Hi everybody and welcome to Chris and Luke's World of Rod Hockey. We're going to be doing a couple of episodes of talking about the game, why we love it so much. But first of all, here's my son Luke.
Hello.
And I'm Chris, Lukey's dad. And first episode, what we're going to cover, we're going to talk a little bit about the modifications and the maintenance required for the game. And later on in our episodes, we're going to be talking a little bit about our collection that we have. We have quite a vast collection of NHL teams that we have for the game, and what we're hoping to do with that collection, and some of the little modifications that we've made with those teams. I think you'll find them very cool. You're probably wondering why we're doing this. Well, Lukey, can you maybe answer that question as to why we're doing this for the people out there?
To show you what we have done to the game and
some of the ideas that we've come up with. And
maybe you could post some videos, or in the comments you could tell us if we could do anything else to do to it.
Yeah, you might have your own game and you might have made your own modifications with it, and we're kind of just encouraging anybody to have a go at putting something up to show what maybe we could do further to our game to make it better, make it more realistic, and maybe what we've done will help you. So that's the whole idea. The idea of making the modifications for us was to try and make it more realistic and to make it a bit more of a novelty while we're playing. Okay, so how do we become hockey enthusiasts? You might ask that question, seeing as that we're living in Australia and hockey isn't a natural game for us. Well, I lived in Canada, in Toronto in 2000-2001. My wife is from Toronto, so that kind of got me into the game, got me into the love of the sport. And then later on, Lukey was born when we were living in Vancouver in 2006. So he's half Canadian, which virtually means that it's in his blood. So having one half of the family Canadian got us into the game, and then once Lukey was born, well, we've both been knitted into it together. Alright, so let's focus on our game modifications for this first episode. The first thing that we did when we got the game, Lukey, you might want to talk a little bit about what we did here with the goal, with the goal net. So I'll just take one out for everybody to have a look at. So, do you want to explain to everybody what we did?
Yeah, so when we first bought the game, it was originally red see-through plastic around here, and so we took that off. We kept the main base.
So what do you mean by base? You kept the frame of the goal, the plastic that was already there, yeah?
Yeah, and we got some netting and tied that around with some bed wire.
So basically, once we cut out the main frame and left it empty, we got the netting just from a $2 store or a craft store. Netting's very cheap, and just get the whole size so that the pucks don't go through, obviously. And if you can see in closely, it talks about the bread wire, just bread wrappers that you tie up from the bakery. We use those to tie off and then cut them very short so you don't see them. So Lukey, maybe tell the people about the advantages of having the net as opposed to the plastic backing.
Okay, well, if you shoot a hard shot, it won't go straight back out. The net softens the puck so it falls straight in.
Yeah, so the idea was not only for it to look more realistic, to have the net there, but also to stop in-out shots as much as possible. They still occur, like you'll still get in-out shots happening, but not as much with that soft netting there. So yeah, I think it just adds to the real feel of the game by having the netting there at both ends. So the next modification that we made, you probably on your own game you'll see that you'll have a sticker that, I think it's 3, maybe 4 stickers, long stickers that go around the outside of the boards, and they each represent each NHL team logo. So you have all the logos of every NHL team all the way around. What I found after a couple of years of playing was that sticker started to fray on the ends where the stickers joined, and even tore a couple of times. So it started to look a little bit ragged. So once we decided to remove the stickers, do you want to tell what we've done here to compensate for the sticker that had torn through? What we've put up here?
We printed some of the advertising you'd see in the video game around here, and we stuck that on with some clear see-through contact.
Yeah, so pretty much as you can see, I'm a Toronto fan, and therefore I try to replicate the Air Canada Centre as best I can, even though he would prefer it if it was the Rogers Centre in Vancouver. But taking some still shots from online of the Air Canada Centre of recent years, you see the advertising around the boards, and so I've basically just written out those advertisers, gone onto each website and printed out some images of those sponsors and advertisers that are on the Air Canada Centre boards, and then cut them out, and as Lukey said, stuck them on with clear contact. It's a bit time consuming, but it's well worth it. You can see that all the sponsors around there are relevant and make it look like the Air Canada Centre, which leads us to the last modification that we've made so far in regards to the actual gameplay. You'll see here at centre ice, we've got a Toronto Maple Leafs sticker. So if you focus in on there, as you're all aware, all the home ice rinks, they have the home logo in the centre ice. And so I had a couple of stickers I could have chosen to put there. One was bigger, which would have been probably a little bit more realistic to what it looks like in real life. But what I found is that I would have had to cut too much of away of the sticker to allocate for the tracks for the players to move smoothly up and down, and it just kind of cut through the Toronto and the Leafs, and it just kind of disrupted the whole look. So this sticker just fits in nicely, didn't need to cut too much away, and it still gives the effect that we're at the Air Canada Centre. So there's some of the modifications that we've done to our game. Now I don't know what team you support or who you follow so much in the NHL, but you may want to provide your own home ice rink by checking out online what the rink looks like, what advertising's around, and maybe come up with a sticker and do that. We'd love to see it, check it out. If we ever get another game that this needs replacing, we might even come up with the Vancouver Canucks home ice. Alright, we just want to talk a little bit about the maintenance that we do for the game to make sure that it runs smoothly, and so that the actual the game structure stays solid and it can last for a long time. So one of the basic things that we do, we use the paper towel over there, Lukey.
Yeah.
And the silicone spray.
The silicone spray.
And the silicone spray is pretty good. It doesn't leave too much of a residue. And as opposed, I'll just grab that. As opposed to spraying it on the ice, we'll always usually just spray it onto the paper towel and then wipe. That way you don't get too much of the silicone spray on the ice to wipe up, and also it doesn't leave too thick a film of residue on there as well. So it's best to put it on the paper, then wipe, and make sure you get all of it up, and you'll find that the puck races across the ice. It's great. We also use this
to make the rods move smoothly.
Yeah, so you can basically do the same thing. So the rods moving in and out, and to clean them up, spraying on a little bit of silicone spray onto the paper towel, and then Lukey, you might want to show how you do that. So if you want to just come around here. So you pull out one of the rods,
and you basically just
so where you've sprayed on the
you spin it around while pushing it in.
Yeah. And basically where you've sprayed on that paper towel is doing the job of cleaning it up. Okay, thanks mate. Now what we did find after a period of time of cleaning it, we've had this game for quite a few years now, so after a little while you do get a little bit of residue that is left on the rods, and after putting more silicone spray on it, it doesn't necessarily fix it. So what we did find is that getting some wet dry sandpaper, and you wouldn't need this much, you just cut out a small little square or rectangle, and virtually the same process, pull out the rod, run it back and forth, and that gets rid of that film, that little residue that remains after you've cleaned it quite a few times. So that's a good tip. The wet dry sandpaper works well on the metal rod. Okay, and the final maintenance thing that we've only just completed actually. Lukey, you might want to explain to everybody what we did and why we did it.
So we used little metal washers because after a few years of play, you might find out that where the rod slides, it wears. So you get.
So basically, yeah, where the rod slides in and out, it starts to wear the plastic, and the hole becomes a little bit big and can sometimes loosen up the rod. So yeah, so just maybe pull out the rod and show.
That is right there.
Yeah. So I'll just put that back there and I'll show. So these are the washers that we used. They're only a couple of bucks. Get a whole bunch in a box, and obviously you need glue to put them on. Now the first glue that I used I thought would work. It was just a basic super glue, but it didn't stick to the plastic so well. So I ended up getting specific to plastic. It actually sticks to anything, but really good with plastic. But it has an activator and the super glue, and together those washers stuck super firm onto the plastic frame of the game. So now we don't have to worry about the rod wear and tear on the plastic, so the game should last for a lot longer, which is what we want, right, Lucky?
Yes.
Alright, so that pretty much concludes our first episode. Stay tuned for our second episode where we're going to talk about our collection of teams. Our idea is to try and get teams both home and away for every team in the NHL, or even alternate jerseys. So we're getting pretty close to doing that. We're waiting on obviously new stock coming out. We've made some adjustments with some teams by painting them, but next episode we'll talk about those teams and that collection, and also modifying the goalie pads. You might see here we've got Vancouver and Toronto on board here, and you can quickly see the pads that have been painted, but we'll get into that more in the second episode. So thanks for joining us for our first episode. Hope you got some ideas out of it and some tips. We'd love to hear back from you and show us some of the things that you've done. So, hooroo everybody.
See ya.